Welcome, my beautiful souls, and welcome, my gorgeous Pisces. This is your October 25 reading. And this will be for Pisces sun, moon, or rising. Definitely for those who are intuitively guided. Some of you are in love with the Pisces. I don't blame you. It's interesting because Pisces is my opposite sign. And I do opposite readings a lot because I feel like there's so much that we can learn from our opposite sign. So I always love doing your reading. Um, I do want to let you know, for those who are new, that I do read through our spirit guides. We are one big soul connected family. So my guides connect to your guides. And I feel like that's why our readings are so clear. I know some wish they were shorter, but I want to give you, everything. I want everything that our guides have to say. I want to give you the time, the space, and the clarity that's needed. So thank you for your patience. Um, I'm excited about getting into your reading, Pisces. I am feeling good. So I have a feeling this reading is going to be really good. And I have to say, first of all, I apologize your reading is late. I try so hard to make sure all the readings are ready by the beginning of the month. But at the same time, this just may be that it's divine timing. But what I was going to say is in the previous readings, past life love has come up so much that there's two more readings I have to do after yours. I don't have to do, I want to do. And then I'm going to do a past life reading, and that will be for the collective. But I know, I just know that, I'm being called to it. And I actually thought about doing it first, and I thought, no, I want to do your reading. So this is what we're going to do, Pisces. We're going to use, and those intuitively guided, um, we're going to use a few different decks, and everything is always pre-shuffled, though I will give it a shuffle with you here. We will give Mother Mary the honor of opening up your reading. Um, it's interesting. I just watched a documentary last night, which I don't know, it reminded me of this deck. So we'll see. I'm going to use a crystal vision to clarify and go deeper. And for your main spread, we're going to use the Psychic Tarot, a deck I love for you, and always calls out for you. So Psychic Tarot will be the main spread. And we, of course, are going to use the major arcanas. And I use these as like bullet points. They tell their own beautiful little story. I'm telling you, always. Like, they just never let me down. And that's why they are always in our readings now. But let's go ahead and start with Mother Mary. And let's just go ahead and get into this reading. I'm going to bring the lid down for you. All right. So, Mother Mary. And as I'm doing this, shuffling, feel free to connect with your guides. Ask them to give you signs of confirmation. I hear it all the time through the comment section. Like, I can't believe you said the word that I asked my guides for you to say, or numbers, whatever it may be. Sometimes I do bust out in song, just like the first line, because I know I don't have a great singing voice, and people do remind me of that. But the reason why I do is because it's your guides, and they know that a song's going to resonate with you. So there can be many different ways your guides will reach you. That's why I say, even if you're here because you love a Pisces and maybe you're not a Pisces, just know your guides know that. All right, Pisces, October. We have integrity. I just like the way it came out also. Integrity. I trust my ability to know what is true for me. I trust my ability to know what is true for me. In other words, I feel like trust your intuition. Um, those red flags that we get, it's usually because we didn't trust our intuition in the beginning. I mean, that's normal. But the more that we learn to trust in our intuition, I feel like I do feel like the easier life becomes. Um, but it is that initial instinct. It can be that instinct to something is right or something is wrong. Lord knows, I wish there were some red flags I had paid attention to earlier in life. But 'tis life. All right, so let's go ahead and bring in the major arcanas, give them a little shuffle, little cut. So interesting because for some reason I thought today was Monday. I took yesterday off. No, I didn't take yesterday off. I took the day off before. And I don't know, it just felt like Monday to me, but it's not. Friday. All right. Boy, I have a feeling someone wanted me to say Friday. All right. Beautiful. The star. First of all, this is your neighbor, Aquarius. But this is about your hopes, your dreams, your wishes. And this is about manifesting them, making them your reality. Putting those intentions out there, knowing that they're being heard. When I see the star card, that's the first thing I feel like people are putting their intentions out there and they're being heard and answered. So, what a great way to open up your reading with the star. It's interesting. I just did a podcast that when I'm doing, I started a series where I'm breaking down everyone's major arcana and exactly what it means for you. And though this is not your major arcana, I don't know why I'm saying that, but I just did the star. So that's a great omen. The star, your hopes, your dreams, your wishes. What do you want to manifest today? Mother Mary saying to trust your ability to know what is right for you. All right. Huh. Temperance. Beautiful temperance. And look what she's doing. She's mixing the loving waters of these two cups. To me, it relates right back to soulmate energy. Now, doesn't necessarily have to mean love, but chances are, if it is love, it's a soulmate. And temperance's first message is patience, but it's also about trusting in divine timing. It just means it will be the right time. I get a feeling that divine timing is upon us. So let's see what comes out next. The devil. Card of Capricorn. It's funny because I did Capricorn right before I did the star. So this is Capricorn's major arcana. Temperance is Sagittarius's major arcana, but then I just kind of forget about the signs. This can talk about temptations. The things that I've been tempted to, the people, the type of energy that tempts me that maybe doesn't turn out in your favor. Be careful you're not wishing for something that in your heart, in your soul, you may know already, like, okay, like if there's been a repeat pattern with someone, but sometimes it takes time to realize or even to trust that there is probably, not probably, but there is, well, soulmate, your wishes, and being very clear about them. The devil can certainly cast illusions also. It can feel like you are stuck, but you're really not. It reminds me of us being spiritual beings in this human body. And when we remember that, I feel like we're much more willing to take chances, um, to close what we know is over, and to allow what wants to open. So, unless this is a Capricorn for you, I would just say that, whatever your wishes are, wish it from the light. Wish it from the light. So, Temperance, she's doing her job here. And for some of you, I feel like you may be calling in a soulmate. You may be in a situation right now where you do feel stuck. But then again, I feel like the energy is saying you have the ability to free yourself. You're not truly stuck, even though sometimes it feels it. But that's an illusion. Sometimes we merely need to take one step forward. So, the Star and Temperance, beautiful. All right, we're going to keep them out. We're going to move them to the top of the table, because they will relate back to the reading. I just know it. I just know it. All right, let's bring in the Psychic Tarot. And let's go deeper. Give them a shuffle. Cut. And for anybody new, the reason why I cut every deck is I want to introduce them into an ongoing reading. So I cut them all. All right. Let's begin with the Psychic Tarot. And you are such a psychic sign. But some of you just don't realize that yet. And it's not about like, being a psychic. It's that you have that ability. All right, we got quite a bit. Let's take what came out, but we're going to go what's face up first. Rest and rejuvenation. This is the Four of Swords. This is healing. Now, I feel like it's a little clearer why the devil is here. I feel like it's saying that some of you have been through, maybe repeat patterns and you're breaking free. Keep in mind that this is the final year of this 9-year chapter. And next year, you want to talk about the ability to manifest. That's what next year is going to be about, planting those seeds. I even did a podcast on that. I did this year as one final reminder. And then I also did next year, which will be year 1. So, taking the time you need to heal, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't beat yourself up. I feel like someone is like beating themselves up. Don't, or don't look at it as like, what the hell was I thinking? That type of thing. There was probably something you were learning that will serve you moving forward. This person's out in nature. And for some of you, that may be a good way to heal. Sometimes putting those bare feet right on the grass, connecting with nature, connecting with the ground, and truly ground you. But what I love is I feel like this is saying, and this person's, their hand is wide, like their hands are open to receive. And I feel like that's exactly what you're going to do. Also 4. So grounding is really important. All right, well, let's keep going. This is victory and success. Here it's called material and spiritual prosperity. I like that. I like this image. I feel like this is someone, they're looking over their grounds with this sense of pride, hopefully humbled by it. It's probably not an overnight success, but nonetheless, it is success. And I also love that it includes your spirituality. material and spiritual prosperity, connected with the star. So, the ability to manifest that, manifest within the material world, but really coming from your spirituality. Like, I just feel like you can't go wrong in that energy. Here we go. Here we go. Passion ignited. The Ace of Wands right under Temperance. I feel like Temperance is saying that when it's time for, let's just say, whatever your wishes are, for them or one to come to fruition, your heart chakra is going to be activated. You're going to know. But this is also an energy of acceptance and the willingness to move forward, truly following your intuition, truly following that feeling. I like that a lot. And then look at this, two aces in a row. And here, triumphant success. Ace of Swords, truth, like undeniable truth. Even Mother Mary matches right back. I trust my ability to know what is true for me. If there's like energy of people or a person, that to me, it kind of feels like they may be coming between you and your dream. You want to know that, right? You want to know that. And you don't want to give them that permission. Like don't let them take up space in your mind or in your heart if you know that chances are it won't amount to much or it can be a repeat pattern. This healing, it's not for nothing. So you have a lot of energy on the board already that talks about success, that talks about growth, that's connecting you to your guides and your guides to you. I also call this my yes card. Number 11, make a wish. Make a wish. This could also be communication. We'll see. Let's follow it. I'm going to take 5 across. I'm actually going to move them over a little bit. The Emperor. Dun, 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 dun. Your other neighbor. Your neighbor to the right. Card of Aries. Now that we said that, let's kind of forget that. Because for some of you, this can talk about business ownership. This can certainly talk about, the Emperor is someone who has been through a lot, who has learned a lot, but, I feel like the Emperor and the Empress realize that their past experiences really were their lessons to really open up now these blessings. So the Emperor is someone we can look up to. This is someone who definitely cares about their fellow man, their fellow woman. And it's interesting that we have 2 4s mirroring each other. So I feel like this person is grounded, and now you're becoming grounded. And that may be what Temperance is saying. Like the patience was so that both could be on the same vibrational level. And now that we have these 2 4s, I feel like you are. So let's just say, I feel like this Emperor is a couple different things. I feel like it's a person that may be entering your life. And again, if that's the case, it's someone you can look up to. Some of the clues would be that this is someone who, let's say you go out on a date, you just go out to dinner and the check comes. Well, they're going to reach for that check, male or female, you know. Um, but this is also like, I feel like when you go on that date, watch how they treat other people. If this person would yell and scream at the waiter or the waitress, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, then chances are that's not this person. Now, I'm using that as an example, but again, the emperor is someone who does care for their fellow man and woman. They want to give someone a hand up, not a hand out, a hand up. Help them help themselves. Material prosperity. Some of you may start to see some raises. You may start to see the fruits of your own labor. If you've lost a job, I have to say this might be the perfect time to begin your own thing. It would represent that you carry that wisdom. And sometimes we don't know that until we actually start moving into something. I don't feel like it's interesting. Like Sam and I were talking this morning, and I was telling him about different jobs that I had, and how in the beginning I wasn't really qualified, but I said I was because I knew I would learn as I went along. Same with tarot. Like when I first started tarot so many years ago, I didn't know the meanings, but I gave it a shot anyways, and here I am, so many years later. So I do feel like this is multiple things for you. Some of you, this communication, it tells me it's going to be very good communication. It's going to work on your behalf. Even the 4, 5, 6 adds up to the 6 of material and spiritual prosperity. All right, we have spiritual strength. I love this image because I feel like this is our spiritual team kind of holding up the roof, stopping the roof from caving in, giving us that time. 9 to me is singular, but it may talk about like some of you have been taking that time to heal. And this is probably why you now are finding this spiritual prosperity. It's like your guides are saying, we've been there every step of the way, and we will be there every step of the way. We can't crush your free will, but we can activate that heart chakra. We can activate that within feeling of, maybe I can start my own business. Maybe. I think you can. Um, but I don't want to just say it has to be like self-employment. We'll see if we get the 9 of Pentacles. Because it can be raises. It's interesting. I see this Emperor, and I also feel like he's protecting you. This could also be, I feel like all of the above. So understand when I'm giving you multiple things, I feel all of it. Like this may be a very special person, a very special guy. This is the father figure, by the way. So some of you may have like a father, a grandfather, a big brother, someone who is protecting you from above, protecting you from the shadow. And it feels like opening up the light. But in the Ace of Wands, the one thing you want to remember is you got to be willing to grab that ace, that wand, because once you grab it, it is action time. Your guides are like here to help heal whatever needs to be healed. And now with that energy, what you put out into the world, like the affirmations, if they're coming from more of a healed place, that means that you're looking for the light. And if you're looking for the light, you're going to find it. All right, let's keep going. Temperance again. Well, now we're really connecting two soulmates, both in their divine timing. Look what it says, though. Patience. It's like one hand is being held out, the other one's not. It feels like one soulmate is, let's just say, their vibration has lifted, their spirituality has grown. They're trusting in divine and divine timing. When you think of love, it really is unexpected. It's not something you can really plan. You can hope for it, you can wish for it, you can put those intentions out there. But in a way, you can't really plan it. Temperance can. That's exactly what she's doing. And I get this feeling also that those who are wishing for love, I feel like you're going to have it. But I also feel like don't discard, what else that your soul wanted to do in this lifetime. Like I could see some of you having like a life path 8, where a life path 8 really does want to create a great material world. And it's not coming from the ego, it's coming from their soul. This is what I want to accomplish in this lifetime. The soul doesn't know. It's not guaranteed before we come into this lifetime that, okay, you'll be successful. It is about the journey. But it feels like divine is saying it's just as important that you also have your successes, your chance to grow, that your spirituality be of a high nature. And therefore, what you attract back to you will also be of that vibration. Very important that we know that. If I'm doing nothing but sending worry out into the world, in a way, and I really hate saying this, but I do feel it's true. In a way, I feel like we're just manifesting back more of the same. More of the same. Well, my cards, why do they not want to line up? Okay. So, double Sagittarius on the board, by the way. Some of you may have gone from, let's just say, a committed relationship to a single status. That's something else I've been feeling a lot lately. Like people are changing their statuses on their social media from relationship, complicated, whatever it may be, to single. And I see some putting it right on the front. Well, someone may pick up on that little message. Like, oh, so and so just became free. All right. Oh my gosh. I knew the Empress was going to come out. I felt it. I knew she was going to come out. How do I love that she's not only mirroring temperance, but she's coming under that Ace of Wands. And the Empress is someone who pays attention to the signs. She knows that she's being guided. Both the Emperor and the Empress have learned a lot of lessons. It doesn't mean you have to be old. It just means that you're looking at life from more of a spiritual lens. Like the things that didn't work out. All right, well, I'm going to heal, but then I'm going to let them go. I'm going to just understand what it taught me. And for some of you, it's just about being grounded. I love we now have the mother and the father figure. They're different. It's interesting. That's probably why I was talking about opposite signs, because they are different. But at the same time, their vibration is very much the same. So they both care, about helping others. Whether I'm helping one or helping the world, it doesn't matter. It's just about who you are. And if you see someone down and out, you'd be someone who'd run towards them to help versus running away. Oh my gosh, another ace, the Ace of Pentacles. Pisces, this was your divine timing. Ace of Pentacles means something coming into your physical world. It is saying prosperity begins. Look at, oh my gosh, look at everything. It's Ace of Pentacles connected to the Ace of Swords. It's like this could be some type of communication that then brings two people together. But the heart chakra is being activated first. Temperance is bringing this love together. Yes, we're going to have to trust our intuition. We're going to have to take a chance. And that may be scary after dealing with maybe some difficult energy. But again, the ability to heal. And not only that, I feel like for some of you during this, let's say, healing period, you've been connecting more and more to your guides, or you're trusting more and more in them. And that may be what it was all about, that material prosperity. How beautiful. Material and spiritual prosperity, and then prosperity begins. I'm not going to say it is just in your money. And it probably is in your money. But I also feel like it's bringing the Emperor and the Empress, who I call my power couple, together. When Temperance is mixing those loving waters, she's truly mixing those loving waters. When she talks about patience, it makes sense. Because with the Four Swords and spiritual strength, this is what you're finding. And when you find that, and don't even think about like, all right, I have to be completely healed. I have to not think about the past. It's not about that. It's just saying that I'm not going to allow past energy to have an effect in my present nor my future. That was my past. Now, this person could also be from your past, because I did feel like this Ace of Swords, for some of you, like I literally see you changing your status. If you've become single, I would do that, because you never know who's going to reach out. You never know. Wow. The abundance. 111. And we're moving into a year one. Well, there's our fourth one. Truly, it's about making wishes. Truly, it's about putting your affirmations out there, planting those seeds, and then watching them come to fruition. It's like covering all the bases for you: love and money. And when I say money, I mean, for some of you, yes, it's like, you're growing within, let's say, a company. And for others, I feel like it is about self-employment. The Empress is so creative. They're both creative, but the Empress is someone who, um, she knows that she's receiving signs, epiphanies. And she's more than willing, she trusts in divine. So she's willing to bring these seeds into fruition. Even if we look at this ace, two different hands are nurturing this seed. Two different hands. I keep noticing in this deck the peaches. It's like my Georgia peach. My Georgia peach. Three of Swords. But that makes sense because we have the Four of Swords. And though we're not done yet, we're going to bring out the clarifiers and go deeper. This will be the last card for the Psychic Tarot. So it makes sense that the Four of Swords be the first card. What am I healing? My heart. My heart. And, sometimes when I see the Three of Swords, I feel like there may be something that you've given three opportunities to. Someone you've given three chances, but now it feels like three strikes and you're out, buddy. Also, the Empress. It's not that the Empress can't have her heart broken, but this isn't someone who would sit in woe for very long. The Empress is human like the rest of us, but she's also very nurturing. She is the nurturer. And she does not allow people who have hurt her or him to play any effect within her present. What have both of them done instead? They've reflected upon it and they've extracted the wisdom from it. And this is really why we run in 9-year cycles. It's like the opportunity every 9 years to stop, look at our life, reflect upon it. Am I living life the way that I truly want to live it? Or am I just living life according to someone else's standards? Both of them have high standards, high morals, and they're very loving. But they are human. Look at Temperance right there beside the Empress. The mother and the father figure. Some of you, this may be who you start a family with. Three of Swords mirroring spiritual strength. So it's like your guides want to let you know, like, we're there with you always, right? But we know when you're going through the Three of Swords, we know that. And as you're healing, we're here to help you to heal. Sometimes just the remembrance that you're more than just this human body, that you are a spiritual being. And, our spirit wants to have adventures. That's what we came here for. Earth is like our classroom, so to speak. It's here so our soul can evolve. And I feel like the Emperor and the Empress is of the highest vibration. Doesn't mean perfect again. Don't even shoot for that because you won't find it. Probably even within ourselves. Sometimes it is the mistakes that we've made that have taught us the greatest of lessons. But I feel like this Three of Swords is yesterday's news. Some of you may still be going through it, but I feel like the message is the same. Like, that was yesterday. And this is about what is yet to be. That's why we have all these aces. How do I love that your chakras are being activated first? And then the Ace of Swords, so it can certainly be communication first. And then the Ace of Pentacles is what brings it all together. That makes sense. All right, let's see what's on the bottom of the deck. Seven of Cups. Choose wisely. You know, it reminds me of like sometimes we don't choose wisely. I know I haven't sometimes. Sometimes we want what we want, but it may not be the best for us. Like we've seen those red flags, but we ignored them. I know I've done that. You know, I know that just with my ex-husband. Like there were a million red flags, and I ignored every one of them, and I paid the price. But I'm not going to look back with regret because I had two beautiful children. But it does mean that, the Seven of Cups to me means that you're going to be making a decision about something. And choose wisely seems like pressure. I kind of feel like they should change that. Sometimes in the Seven of Cups, the energy, like let's say this communication comes in and it may come in at a day that's very chaotic for you. And it may be something that settles you down immediately. I just want to see what's under it. Victory and success again. Wow. Like you want to talk about matching vibrations, similar vibrations. And, honestly, I feel without some of the lessons of the past and reflecting upon them, but really to notice how you have grown, you wouldn't be the person you are today without them. I literally feel for some of you like you are saying, I'm not going to let someone have any say so in what my future's going to look like. I'm going to plant those seeds. And that's what the star talks about. It's your seeds of intention that are coming to fruition. But, sometimes we also have to be in the right energy. I was going to say something and I think I forgot, but now I'm reminded. When I think of the Emperor and the Empress, especially the Empress, very, very creative. Um, Sometimes I feel like the best course of action, according to our guides, is for us to find that success within ourselves. Like the energy of being able to take care of yourself no matter what. Okay, let's bring in the psychic tarot. I mean, the gilded tarot. And let's go deeper. What an interesting reading because it's like I can feel the light. I can feel the blessings, but I also can feel what you've been through. But I also feel like there has to come a day where I have to say no more. Like, no more am I going to allow other people to determine what my life is going to look like. So you are taking back control of your own life. And I still feel that, listen, some of you have a mother figure, and some of you have a father figure, and some of you may have both who are definitely watching over you. And, they may be one of your strongest guides right now, like stepping forward and activating that heart chakra. That heart chakra is being activated for a reason. And no matter what, it is talking about time of action. And it makes sense with all these ones because we're moving into a year one. Um, so the reflection of the hermit, right? The closing of chapters, so important. The planting of seeds, so important Because if you plant no seeds, you have no harvest. So plant those seeds, but be, like Mother Mary says, trust your ability to know what is true for you. But plant those seeds and know that, another way of saying that is, put those intentions out there because they're being picked up and they're being sent back. But then also be open to, sometimes I can, put the intention of like that I want love. But I may say, but I want this type of love. I want someone who has dark hair and dark eyes. And, Divine would say, let all that go. Because sometimes the person, your true love, may be so different than what you're used to. But that may be a very good thing. All right. I feel like I cut them, but I'm going to cut them again. All right. We're going to start at the beginning, but we are reading it as a whole. The way, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The way I look at your readings is this is telling your life story. Um, that's how it shows to me. It's like a movie. It's like the movie of Pisces. Look at this. This is the marriage card. Let's say definitely true love. It's coming over the Four of Swords. So I feel like it's two things, or it's representing two things. One, the love that didn't go the way I had hoped. But number two, I feel like this is also what's coming in. So what I mean by that is I feel like number one, maybe I wished someone would put me upon this pedestal, but they didn't. But number two, do I feel like the next person will? Absolutely. And I feel you'll do the same for them. Remember, matching or similar vibrations. I don't want to say matching because it doesn't have to mean we're exactly the same, but we have the same ultimate goals. I know the one thing it means is your morals are aligned. You know, there's no way do I feel that if this is talking about love that's coming in, that this is someone who, well, is a liar, who will promise you the world and deliver none. I feel like some of you have been there, done that. Interesting, we had the four over four, mirrored by a four. We have five of cups over the six of wands, and then we have justice. So, justice, first of all, is card of Libra. But this is about cutting ties. And let me tell you, this is the year. This is exactly why I did that podcast where I talked about the universal year 9 moving into a universal year 1. Like, I really want you to understand the power behind that. But using this sword of justice, it can represent, because we have the marriage card, some of you could be a marriage that just didn't work out. But you use this sword for whatever you feel, whatever is no longer serving your purpose. And I even love that it's coming over the Ace of Wands because I feel within your soul what it is. Now, Let's jump back one card to the Five of Cups. So, first of all, it's a 5. I just realized it's over a 6, which adds up to an 11. There's something about these ones, these 11, 11. 11, 11 to me is about making a wish. And for some of you, like sometimes I don't like saying this because I don't want you to think like, um, like, I mean, it can represent twin flames. I'm just going to say that. But this is not something you search for. It will just happen. Now, 5 of Cups. It's asking you to ask yourself, where is your focus? And in the 5 of Cups, my focus is on the cups that have been knocked over, right? The cups that have caused me probably heartache and loss. But that's not the end. It may feel like it. Well, it is probably the end for a relationship. But in the 5 of Cups, because 5 is about change, and many of you know what I'm about to say, there's 2 cups that are behind this person. What is Temperance doing? She's getting those 2 cups ready. But what is she asking of us? Don't keep your focus on what you have lost. Think about the potential of what has yet to be. Some of you, this can certainly represent someone of your past. And I know a lot of people don't like when I say that, and that probably means it's not for you. That doesn't mean you, right? Because it doesn't have to be someone of your past. Um, but I can't leave that off the table either. Because I get the sense, like, for some of you, change your status, somebody picks up on that. And that may be why someone out of the blue may reach out. That's how it happened for me. So for me to say that that's impossible, well, then I'm denying my own love life, right? That's exactly what happened. So, anyways, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about these 2 cups. Some of you, yes, it could be a marriage or a committed relationship. But listen, was their true commitment to begin with? Because I get this feeling there may not have been. You know, like someone may have promised you the world. It reminds me of my ex. Someone who I ended up marrying and then he started cheating, like within 6 months. Like, why'd you marry me? Why did you want to get married? Hmm. It's funny because temperance, which speaks about divine timing, sometimes divine timing is waiting on us. So she may be waiting on someone to use that sword. It's interesting because the person in the Justice card is looking over at this Ace of Swords, but and this sword is behind her. So it's like the cutting of ties behind me and the opening of the potential. And I may not even know, like I may not know. Yet again, your heart chakra is going to be activated. And I feel like that is a beautiful way our guides work. It's like you get this feeling first. Like I may feel the good things are about to, I just get a feeling something good is gonna happen. And then I'll be damned. It does. All right, let's keep going. Hello, Ten of Pentacles. Hello, House of Abundance. Let me tell you, you have material prosperity. Prosperity begins. You have all the makings of the Ten of Pentacles. But I often don't feel you're alone in the Ten of Pentacles or the Ten of Cups. This may be the beginning of a connection, and who better to really, because this is a very grounded type of energy. This is abundance, but it's very rooted. It is starting something from a strong foundation. And we have to think about that. But I have a feeling this is about to connect to. This is a great omen, again, for business ownership, working from the home. I have a feeling, though, it's also the combination of the Emperor and the Empress coming together, and both them being, I'm going to say successful, but that doesn't mean rich. But I get this sense of, with this person, it's like the person before, I kept my own bank account. And I'm not telling you to combine bank accounts. I have my own bank account. Sam has his own. But I get this sense where here I would have no problem. This is a house that truly takes root. So it could have been planted way before your soul was even born. And this just may be the right time. Wow. I mean, holy abundance. And where is she? She's out in nature. That means to me that she's grounded. Okay, well, here's that Seven of Cups. So I feel like the Emperor may be ringing that phone, or making that post, or answering, like making a comment. Because I feel like it's you who then makes that decision. But listen, this cup, it's showing us that it has the ability to go to, well, I feel like it may be a true love. Not only within the love department, but look at the finances, the material world. And both of them, I feel, are successful in their own right. So, ring, ring. The King of Cups. Pisces could be you, Cancer, Scorpio. But let me tell you, I feel like the King of Cups, as this relates to love, in the upright, this is someone who enjoys being in love. This is someone who appreciates having a partner by their side, not just anyone, someone that they truly, truly love. If he was in reverse, I'd be like, run. That would be my ex. Because he's a Scorpio. But he's in the upright. He's coming over spiritual strength. He's got that cup in his hand. It's almost like someone who is ready to make a true commitment. And you may be, it's going to be one way or the other. And what I mean by that is, you're either the emperor or the empress, and I don't mean male or female. I mean, because, we have both here. I mean, One's going to make the initial contact, let's say, and the other is receiving it. I feel for the majority of you, it's you receiving it. But listen, I also want to say, don't be afraid. And I get it, but like, let's say you're interested in something, and let's say you're interested in someone, and you see that they became single. Like, don't be afraid to reach out, and it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, you're finally single. It may just be a simple hello. Like, hey, interesting. For some reason, you were just on my mind. And then I see this post from you, or whatever it may be. Some of you, it may be like in the physical world that you connect. You may meet this person and it may be very random. Again, these Seven of Cups, they can talk about a chaotic time, but it might just be the day. Interesting. The Hangman, but in reverse. This means a spiritual awakening. The Hangman in the upright is seeking spiritual wisdom to use on this earthly plane. But what is in reverse? I found that wisdom. I found it. Doesn't even mean it's connected to people yet. It means you. And listen, it's coming right below spiritual prosperity. Hello, spiritual awakening. And that does put you on a whole different vibration, almost a different dimension. But there's someone else who's on that same dimension with you. And coming over temperance, I feel like it's both of these soulmates having this spiritual awakening. That is the time for love. Let me tell you, that is when love becomes truly unbelievable. I love the way your reading is going. Oh my. Hello, Knight of Swords. So, number one, every knight, at least at this table, is going to complete their mission. I feel like the knight is sent by a queen or a king, so to speak. Here, I feel like it's being sent by the emperor and is coming right over the empress. To me, that means some type of communication that's coming in. And I also want you to notice there's a white horse. This person is above the darkness. This is truth. So whatever they speak is the truth. Where is that other white horse? Right here. Or someone's putting you on a pedestal. But I feel, again, you would do the same. They're connected. They're connected. Mm-hmm. Interesting, it's also coming under justice, under justice. So using that sword, you know, and listen, it doesn't always have to mean I'm using that sword to cut off a relationship. It's just whatever is no longer serving your purpose, whatever is coming between you and your dreams. This is the realization that you have the right to live the life that you want, but you also have to take certain action steps. But I feel you're being guided the whole way. I mean, you always have been. But maybe now, especially with the spiritual awakening, like these signs, I feel like are going to be so clear. Interesting. The Ace of Swords, but it showed up in reverse. Do you know what I feel? The first thing I'm feeling is someone had thought about reaching out to someone, but didn't. There could have been like, and I'm sorry to talk about myself. I know some people are like, why you talk about yourself? Well, because I have the experience, because I've been there, done that. And I feel like that's exactly why my guides put me in this position. You know, the person I'm with now, who was my first love, there's many times I thought about reaching out, but I didn't. I say many times, not many, like maybe 3 times in my life, because we dated as teenagers, and then there was 40 years in between then and now us being together. Well, actually, when the first communication came in. So I get the sense, and just notice that what's growing up that sword, red roses. And, you know, some of you may be like, well, I don't know if I'm going to take that phone call. And you have every right. And again, I'm not feeling like this is anyone who has hurt you, anyone who is definitely not a narcissist. Like, I'm not feeling that type of energy at all. Matter of fact, I'm feeling the opposite. I'm feeling of a high vibration. Someone who does have their shit together. Someone who not only knows how to love, but wants to be in love. They want to be in love with you. They want you to love them. This kind of feels predestined. So I'm not really worried about this ace because I feel like if it's the emperor who, at first, the communication, like, oh, she or he is not going to take my call or answer, you know, acknowledge my text or whatever it may be. Um, I don't feel like that would be the end. I feel like they would call again or send another text. Oh my gosh. Hello, Queen of Cups, mirroring the King of Cups. Like minded energy. And both of them, what I think I just got done talking about, what I want in my life. This isn't only talking about love, it is talking about the opportunity to really have abundance in your life, to be able to take care of you. And I feel like that's an important component because I feel like if I can't take care of myself financially, then it's a little harder, let's say to leave a relationship. But don't think that you can't, the Empress can take an idea and create a masterpiece. But it may start as an idea or an epiphany. So I feel like that's an important component here. But the like minded energy and both who really do appreciate that special person. When I say someone's going to put you on a pedestal, and again, you're putting each other on that pedestal, but this definitely feels like, it's like lifting you off the ground. Holy cow. I do know that some of you already know who this person is. But I also want to remind you that I do know it's soulmates. So soulmates have lived life together before. And, I opened this reading talking about past lives, and I am going to do a past life reading, and I already know it's going to resonate with a lot because I feel it in my soul like it's calling, it's calling. But I feel like I have to finish with the monthlies first. I cannot wait to do that reading. All right. I was going to stop, but let's go ahead and go underneath it also. Since you waited, let's go ahead and give you a little extra. Again, Empress. Triple Sag on the board. But look what she's coming over. First of all, your spiritual strength. It's like, I've been here all along. I've been mixing these loving waters. And I feel like this is saying, this is no longer about having to wait and wait and wait. It feels like it is right around the corner. It truly feels that way to me. Beautiful butterflies all around her. We have the Death card. Card of Scorpio. Death card represents the completion of something. That certain doors need to be closed now. But it is about what door is opening up next. Well, it's a beautiful door. I may not know that until I step into it. I have to trust, is what I have to do. But it is a representation that something has come to an end. It's just no longer serving you. You're no longer happy in it. And Death card really speaks about rebirth. A lot of decks, you'll see that it'll say death slash, doesn't say it here, but you'll see death slash rebirth. So it means a new door is opening. Wow. I feel like there is nothing to fear here. I mean, especially with the spiritual awakening. And when you have a spiritual awakening, that means that you have spiritual truth. That means that you are being honest with yourself. Even for the things that didn't work out, you're looking at it with a different perspective now. You're looking at it with a spiritual lens versus an earthly lens. You're seeing it on a spiritual level, like, okay, now I get, like, every step of the way, I was being guided. And when you truly have a spiritual awakening, and it's not an overnight thing, it's a process. It becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. But the one thing is that you're a spiritual being. And that is your guiding light. I'm looking at my life now, understanding that I'm more than just this earthly creature. I have a soul. And this soul wants to learn. This soul wants to grow. It wants to have these experiences. The soul knows that chances are I can overcome, and we can overcome. And listen, I say that with true experience because I have had some truly heartbreaking things happen in my life that I don't know how. Well, I do know how, but I know God has helped me. But I feel like, when these things happen, it just feels like the end. But it's not the end. For some of you, it's just the beginning. Wow. Like, I want to take a second and just thank our spiritual guides. And I feel like we should do that every once in a while. Thank our guides for giving us the clarity, a clear mind, a spiritual lens. Oh my God. The Emperor and the Empress are now connected. Pisces. The Emperor and the Empress are now connected. What had to happen first? The door had to close. And this is the rebirth. Wow. And then look at this. The Nine of Pentacles that is mirroring the Ten of Pentacles, coming over or under the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords. Two Aces of Swords. Independent energy. Seeing the fruits of your labor. Some of you, again, you took an idea and you created a business. And I hope you're proud, like, be proud of yourself. Some of you may just be starting to see the fruits of your labor, or some of you may just be like thinking, okay, maybe I will take that idea, that epiphany, and maybe I will create. You know, I feel like in the Nine of Pentacles, I don't need to know everything. I will learn as I go. But what I really love here is the Nine of Pentacles is mirroring the Ten of Pentacles, where I felt right away that it was two people. I wouldn't be surprised if you even do similar things in your lives. Let's say that you're both healers in some way. You know, it doesn't have to mean we do the exact same thing. But I do feel like the Emperor and Empress, you know, they are like we're all natural healers. It's just, and we're all the Emperor and the Empress. It's just when we reach that vibration, let's say. I'm blown away. And this is why I love doing tarot. This is, you know, and I'm saying doing tarot. This is why I love connecting to our guides, to be honest, because they always blow my mind. You know, it's so interesting. I just did a personal reading, and I hope the person doesn't, I'm not going to give a name. Um, but, you know, there were some things in there that, like, from the human level part of me is like, I don't know if, like, it's hard to say this, but I heard my guide say the truth. It will set her free. So I did. And there was a lot of beauty after what was started somewhat hard. You know what I mean? Like, I never want to break someone's heart. But if I don't give the truth, then what is the sense of having a personal reading? Otherwise, I'm just taking your money, right? Like, that's not me. That is not me. And my guides know that. But it doesn't mean it's easy for me to give hard information. This is kind of what it's reminding me of. That's why I'm bringing it up. You know, it is about some of these hardships. And sometimes we want what we want, but it may not be what's best for us. But then it's the opening of really the unbelievable. You know, it's only unbelievable until it becomes possible. Or let's say it a different way, what we think is impossible is only impossible until it becomes possible. And it is becoming possible here. I would say your reading takes the cake this month, for sure. All right, we have the King of Pentacles, can be Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. But let me tell you what I think about the King of Pentacles. So if it's not that sign in the upright, again, in the upright, this is someone who's loyal. Loyalty is a big thing. And I know because I'm a Virgo and I'm with a Virgo. And, you know, if there wasn't loyalty, then we would not be together. I wouldn't, neither of us would accept that. But this is also someone, when they look at life, they look at it from the big picture. You know, sometimes we may be afraid that someone comes in and they'll be like, look at what you did to your life. There's no judgment. No judgment. And I even love this king coming out because we have the Nine of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles. Then we have, wow, hello, Hermit. So it is card of Virgo. So for some of you, that could relate. But we are in the year of the Hermit. I feel like this ties us right back to the star. Truly, what is I want in my life? And am I willing to go after it? Am I willing to take that leap of faith? You know, when you see the hermit, they're either going into a cave, which is kind of like going through that dark night of the soul, probably that three of swords type energy. And, you know, sometimes things bring us to our knees. But this is when we start seeking the light. And if we seek the light, we shall find the light. And then the hermit uses that energy to help others. Makes perfect sense with the emperor and the empress here. Now, I also want to say, because we're in the universal year 9, which is the year of the hermit, and we open the reading with the star, and all these ones, like, plant those seeds, baby. Plant those seeds. And then we have the Seven of Wands, which kind of doesn't fit. But here's what I feel. Seven of Wands is about standing your ground. But this is what I'm really feeling with this. I feel like it's saying that the Emperor and the Empress, you and this other person, you're taking your experiences, like the fires that you've had to put out, the things that you've overcome. And now many of you are helping others to overcome. Some of you are doing it as a business, and some of it is just with your family and your friends. Like you have become what I consider the hermit, the wise old soul. I feel like the hermit has lived at the life path of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now my soul is truly here, maybe for that ultimate, what's the word I want to use? Raising of the vibration. I often feel the hermit doesn't have to come back to another life if they choose. Because chances are, I've really learned what my soul wanted to learn. And this hermit, which is interesting because I just started noticing this, he's sitting on a cliff, much like the foal. He's taking all this wisdom and the willingness to take that leap of faith. Remember, 9 is final reflection. Final. And then we're off to the races. Wow, wow, wow. Look at that. Bottom of the deck, the Ten of Swords. It's interesting because most of the time I don't look at the bottom of the deck for the clarifiers. But here and there, I feel called to it. I felt called to it here. So for some of you, this certainly can represent a repeat pattern you've been through. You know, lower vibrational energy, people who keep putting daggers in your back. But the truth of the Ten of Swords is I've become submissive in this energy. I'm accepting these swords, right? This person's just laying there. You know, like in the star, I expect good things to happen, and they do. In the Ten of Swords, I expect bad things to happen, and they do. She has to get up. And when she does, all those swords fall out of her back. That's probably why I felt within the Three of Swords. I may have given something or someone 3 opportunities, but it's like 3 strikes and you're out. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. All right, and grouping in the clarifying love situations. And then, I mean, we're going to bring in the romance angels. How could we not? And then we shall let it be. Well, there's your cards. All right. So, there are two messages on these cards. So the direction they come out is a message you want to read. Unexpected joys. Wow. Life's surprises are gifts, opening doors to unforeseen adventures. Come on, Pisces. Unexpected joys. Life's surprises are gifts, opening doors to unforeseen adventures. That takes me right back to the Ace of Pentacles, right? That chakra being activated first and foremost, and then the adventure begins. Masked realities. Beyond posting facades and cover ups, dare to unveil the truth hidden beneath. Fogs bind. When paths are unclear or spirits froze, sometimes leaving brings light. When paths are unclear and spirits froze, sometimes leaving brings light. Every one of these messages fit perfectly within your reading. Unexpected joys. Absolutely. Masking realities. Beyond posting facades and cover ups, dare to unveil the truth that's hidden beneath. That kind of reminds me of the Ten of Swords and the Three of Swords. And what I now know is over. And listen, sometimes we don't want it to be over, but sometimes when it's over, it's over. But then it's literally telling you to open that door to the unexpected surprises. That's the death card. So everyone fits. This is why I read through my spirit guides, because I just feel like they blow us away all the time. Now, do I feel like this is for everyone? Number one, I feel like if you felt intuitively guided, chances are it's for you. But I also want you, the one thing I want you to understand in a reading, this is why my readings are longer, because they're like a roadmap, like the closing of the door. It's a necessity for the next door to open. If I never close that door, do I remain in the Ten of Swords? Probably. But if I use that sword and close that door, then this unexpected joy finds its way to you. Okay. It's funny. Somebody left a comment and said, uh, if I wanted preaching, I forget how she said it. It was quite rude, really. But to each their own. And I know I can't make everyone happy. I know that. But it's interesting how when I read comments like that, I think, you just want to hear what you want to hear. But there are ways to truly get the life that you truly want. And yeah, sometimes that takes time in a reading. You deserve love. You certainly do. And yes, you are lovable. I love how she's about to shoot that arrow. Does she know where she's shooting it? I don't know. She's shooting out towards the future. It reminds me of Cupid shooting that arrow of love. It's interesting because she's shooting it across the water. And then we have make the effort. Great love. Let me repeat that. Great love is worth taking the steps you're guided to take. And that's what this reading is about. This is showing you the steps to get to the life that you truly want. No, they're not all easy. But are they worth it? Yes. It could just say love, right? But it doesn't just say love. It says great love. And you deserve it. I'm going to let that be, Pisces. I feel like, wow. Like at first I felt bad that I'm late doing your reading, but I have to tell you, I don't feel like I was late at all. I feel like this was divine timing. You know what I think when I get to this point in a reading? How am I going to title this reading so that you truly know the beauty of it? Especially if you're still back, let's say in the Ten of Swords, or you're still in the healing phase. But I'll figure that out. I'll figure that out. You know, I'm going to just trust our guides that no matter what I title it, the right people will find it. It will come across your feed somehow, some way. And that I trust. And again, I want to give a special shout out to our spirit guides because I feel like they were very clear in this reading. It was very easy for me to understand it. And I feel like you deserve it. So, this is not just love. This is abundance. This is your creativity and great love. Believe it. Plant those seeds. Divine is listening. I love you guys. Thank you. I'll see you next time at our table. I cannot wait for you to watch this reading. I really can't. Um, I can't wait to read your comments also. I love you. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.